if you live in Saskatchewan, you may have heard the phrase, sport, it's more than a game. It's the Sask Sport slogan, but it's also the mantra for many sports organizations in this province. It's not just about the physical benefits, of course. Sports can also build character and teach teamwork. Unfortunately, not everyone is able to access sports. Today, we are speaking to people who are trying to break down those barriers. We'll take you to northern Saskatchewan to learn about programs to get more kids into organized sport. We'll hear about what programs are getting most popular with kids sport, and we'll learn about what the cities of Regina and Saskatoon are doing to make recreational opportunities more accessible. How has being involved in sport affected your life? What have you done to try and make sport more accessible in your community? Is there a program that you'd like to shout out? Get in touch. Call 1-800-716-2221 or email bluesky@cbc.ca. BK Woldu gives a lot of credit to a Regina man for getting him into sports, and he says it actually changed his life. The Woldu family came to Regina from Eritrea as refugees in the early 80s. He spoke to Blue Sky host Sam McKeag.
How did you first get involved in sport? Because you were about 7 years old at the time.
7, yeah.
What was your gateway into Canadian sports?
Wow, this is a good story. When we first got to Canada, my parents' biggest focus was study.
That's common of the immigrant experience, right? We got you here, make the most of it.
Yeah. And luckily when we came to Canada, I had a neighbor by the name of Randy Shaw, who's a big guy in town. He was a football guy in town, and just God willing, he happened to be my neighbor. And God willing, he had a child, or his son, Jeremy, which became my best friend, was into sports. So I would just, I would watch these kids play all these weird sports like baseball and this. And I had no clue. I only knew soccer. But I just kind of tag along with them and play. And Randy saw something in me that was, I'll be honest, I was a little faster than them and stronger than the kids. So, yeah, and I was. But I just didn't know any of these games. So Randy asked me, hey, do you want to play football? I said, absolutely.
Put me in, coach.
Put me in. So I asked, of course, he said, go talk to your parents. And the parents say, okay, you're good to go. So I went and asked my parents.
Is this touch football or tackle football?
No, tackle. There's no such thing as touch football back in those days.
Touch flag, that didn't exist.
Yeah,
Hey, the girls had touch football. When I was growing up, there was touch football for girls.
Yeah, but I'm 20 years older than you, don't forget.
You're only like 10 years older than me. But anyways, I digress.
So, of course, I asked.
So you get here, and now you're slamming your body into other humans.
So, hey, listen to this. So I go to my mom and dad, and I'm like, hey, I want to play this football. My dad said, absolutely not. That football's for the animals, he called it. It's barbaric. You're not doing it. You're just going to school.
Because you're studying.
Yeah. So, of course, I went to Randy Shaw and I said, yep, my parents said I'm good to go. We'll play.
When did you get hurt for the first time?
No, never got hurt.
Really?
Yeah, knock on wood, never ever got hurt.
So when did you come clean to your parents that you were learning to play football?
Well, so basically, I would go to practice. I would hide my equipment in the bushes when I got home.
No.
I did.
BK.
I did. And not until, to be honest with you, probably midway through the season did my mom figured out something was going on. So she had a talk with Randy Shaw, and Randy just pleaded my case and said I was really good.
She didn't even come to you. She just knew.
She knew. Yeah. So
did he crumble like a house of cards?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So he told her everything, and so therefore I started playing. I fell in love with this game. It's such a wonderful sport, and I ended up playing. Luckily, he coached me in Pee Wee. He ended up coaching me in Bantam, and then even in high school when I went to Miller to play for the Miller Marauders. Randy Shaw had the connection, so he was coaching at that time. And I feel as though without him, I can honestly tell you my life could have gone a totally different direction.
Now, BK Boldu and his brothers Peter and Paul are helping give back to the next generation of newcomers through Bring 'em Up Saskatchewan. The nonprofit camp helps cover the costs and other obstacles to sport for immigrant kids. The story in First Camp this summer is featured today on our podcast. This is Saskatchewan. You can find it on the CBC Listen app, on Spotify, Apple, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Today on Blue Sky, we are talking about the importance of sport as well as the barriers that are being broken down to help folks access them. We'd love for you to join the conversation today. Again, you can get in touch 1-800-716-2221 or email bluesky@cbc.ca. Well, let's stick with football for the moment, shall we? But we are heading north to the community of Creighton. Ryan Karkuchuk is with the Northern Football League. He's also a program manager with the Northern Sport, Culture, and Recreation District. He is on the line now. Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Candace. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. For listeners who are hearing about it for the first time, what is the Northern Football League?
The Northern Football League got established back in 2013 when a visionary guy from Northern Lights School Division, Mark Willamant, got some funding through Northern Lights Schools and decided, you know what, let's start football. We don't really have football in Northern Saskatchewan. It's a great sport. And they piloted about 3 or 4 schools that very first year just to get the equipment, get the fields, get some uprights, learn the game, get some officials. And they started that way. And then by the following year, it grew to 8. Right now, we're currently at 9 teams. I've taken over as commissioner for the last 4 or 5 years. We have one team. Our biggest school is out of Larange, and they play 9-man with Tisdale, Melfort, Nipawin, those types of schools. And then my school in Creighton, or my team in Creighton, I guess, is the only 6-man team that is playing in the south with Waka, Shellbrook, and Hague, and Roster, and teams that are between Prince Albert and Saskatoon. And then the rest of the teams are 7 northern teams that play amongst themselves. It's a great league. It's more of a developmental league, but they have their own schedule. They have their own playoffs, and they have their own championship game in November. And that's what basically constitutes our Northern Football League. And every year we do a jamboree that's partnered with the Saskatchewan Rough Riders Foundation, and that kicks off our season in April. And then currently right now, all the teams are in training camp mode. And next week, all of our seasons will start. I believe Larange plays this Friday against Tisdale. And then all of the Northern League teams play next Wednesday. And my schedule kicks off next Thursday here in Creighton against Hague. So exciting times for Northern football right now in the fall.
Yeah, how are the kids feeling about the season getting started?
Well, I know they're all excited. I've been around all the teams enough to know that this is always an exciting time. I think, they might say that, we got to go back to school, but at the same time, football starts on August 22nd, and so they're basically in school mode and / athlete mode come a couple weeks prior to the school starting. So our athletes are geared up and ready, and yes, they understand that they're the student athlete. You got to go to school to play football, and in a lot of cases, football keeps them in school. Football keeps the graduation numbers high as well. We do have girls and boys playing on the same team. So if girls want to play, they play with the boys. And we've seen several girls participate in that way. We just don't have enough players to play an all girls team and an all boys team. So we have to mix it. And we've seen successful girls play in our sport as well. So it's right now, usually all the teams right around have around 20 players. I know Larange is over 35. I know my team's over 25. Wow. So roughly, if you did the math, there's close to 150 to 200 football players that are participating right now in the North from grades 9 to 12.
Wow. And you mentioned that it's actually, in your view, maybe even keeping some kids in class. Why do you think that is?
Well, the programs have just grown so strong. We've had the same coaches in place. Players have seen what football has done for past graduates, whether football is an avenue to play with the Thunder or the Hilltops, or we've gotten players playing in Kamloops in the junior programs. So there's that avenue. It's a way of, continuing on with football and then maybe going into colleges and universities. So kids see that. Kids also know just how much their friends are playing. If your friends are playing, there's more likely you're going to play. It's a newer sport, but it's, the fact that we get to go to Rough Rider games and hang out with Rough Riders, and in my case, Winnipeg Blue Bombers, that's pretty cool too. They see role models. It's just, there's a lot of aspects to it, but I think the friend component, you get to hit people. You get to take your aggression out on the field in a proper way. You get to go on road trips that you might not be accustomed to doing. And football, like one thing, my wife even mentioned it too when we were watching the Rider game. It's a sport for all sizes. I think in hockey, if you can't skate, you just can't play. Maybe if you can't run, you can't play soccer. But in football, you need big guys, you need small guys, you need fast guys, you need kickers. So you need all shapes and sizes, and that helps with everybody coming out to play. I think anyone that there's a place for you on the football field. So I think that also has a positive way of getting kids out.
You mentioned the excitement of going on trips. I think, like I did band growing up because I got to go on trips, and that was a lot of fun. But that brings me to my next question, which is that, sporting can be expensive. Going on these kind of trips and traveling to different places is expensive. So how is this Northern League funded?
That's a good question. So we've kind of had a pot of funding for the last 10 years that we've developed through sponsors, whether it's Arriva, Cameco, casinos. So that helped us get kickstarted. Now, through my job, which is also a benefit, I also work for, basically the district, but also for the Saskatchewan Lottery Trust Fund. And there's a lot of grants in the province that we're able to access our football teams as well. Through the Indigenous Community Sport Grant is just an example. A team can apply for $5,000 for equipment, jerseys, etc. So there's a bonus. Also, throughout the year, the Saskatchewan Roughriders Foundation supports our league. They're a partnership of our league. So they have supported us with funds through the season to help with our officials, to help with us to travel. So with all of that, everything that I've said, basically we've been sustaining ourselves where really, like my team, honestly, the kids pay $35 for a bus fee, because we have to pay a bus driver and things like that. But other than that, our equipment is all self-sustained. Our, cleats and stuff, the jerseys, there's really no other costs. And I think talking to the other coaches around the league, some might say, okay, you have to pay $50 for your equipment kit, and then you'll get that back at the end of the year as long as you don't lose anything or things like that. But for the most part, everything is all covered. The schools do a great job of helping with gas and transportation and keeping up with the vehicles. So we don't really have payment for that as well. And like I said, the officials are covered through our Saskatchewan Roughriders partnership. When we do go down south to our jamborees, the Roughriders accommodate us for that. So really, our costs are limited as long as we keep up with our grants and our partnerships. We're pretty self-sustained year after year.
Tell me more about that relationship with the Roughriders, because it does go beyond just money, as you mentioned. How else does the team support this league?
Yeah, so that's a good one. So we've been doing the Northern Football Jamboree probably, I was going to do some research, but probably 10 to 12 years, or probably 10 for sure. I remember Willie Jefferson meeting him in LaRange when he was still a Saskatchewan Roughrider. So that just tells you how long we've been partners with. So the Roughriders, every second year. So this year we did it in the north where they come up to us. Next year, they'll invite us back down to Regina. So that's kind of how been the partnership. And that partnership is okay. They'll hook us up we've stayed in the University of Regina dorms. We've went to the Ryder Stadium, and they had all the coaches and players do a panel at Mosaic Stadium. And they've done workshops with us on mental health and let the kids ask questions. And then we go on the field, and Brett Lothers on doing one session, kicking field goals. And Corey Mace comes and does a presentation talk with the group. And then we have, a defensive player telling them how to tackle. So we go through, that's the bonus of the partnership. And then they'll come up to the north and do reading programs. And like I said, mental health workshops for us. So it's not just football, but at the same time, they kind of have our back. And if we need help throughout the league, whether it's for officials or support, helmets unfortunately expire, Candace. That's one of the big costs in the whole province. And a helmet is basically $500, right? Wow. So if that's just one helmet, right? So if we have an emergency like that, they've stepped in and pitched hit for us. And I go and do a few presentations a year to the Rough Rider Foundation, just celebrating the successes of our league. I send a picture of each team down south to the Riders, just showing, hey, these are all of our team pictures this year for our league. And so that's kind of it in a nutshell, how we kind of communicate back and forth and help each other.
Yeah. If people are just joining us right now, you are tuned into Blue Sky on CBC Radio 1. I'm Candace Lipsky, and I'm speaking right now with Ryan Karkachuk. He is with the Northern Football League. If you hear anything that you'd like to talk more about, or you have some thoughts on how sport has impacted you or your life or your kids' lives, we'd love to hear from you. 1-800-716-2221 or email bluesky@cbc.ca. Ryan, speaking of sport and the impact it has, have you seen any success stories from the league that have really stood out to you?
Well, every season when 9 teams come back, to me, that's a success story. The graduation rates, I wish I had more data, but I just take it from the coaches that they're more likely to graduate when they play football and also play basketball, because football is the start of your season, right? So you're basically you're in school from September to November with football. And if you're playing football, you're more likely to succeed and go into basketball that follows football, and then you're going to graduate in June, right? So we've seen those numbers skyrocket. We now have 9 functional football fields we have referee crews that we never had in the past that help with some of the Southern head refs that come down. So that's been a positive. We have some ex-football coaches, such as J.R. LaRose, who was a Saskatchewan Rough Rider and a BC Lion and an Edmonton Eskimo, has now taken a job in Cumberland House to teach them how to play football. He went there for a year to get them going, and he loved it so much that he's there. This will be his 3rd season teaching that. So wow. He's the head coach of the Cumberland Warriors, and he's an ex-CFL coach. We've had a ton of teams around the north that want to participate, but unfortunately, if you don't have the coaches, that's the biggest barrier. The one big success story I would like to say is the 9 teams we've had the same coaches for over 10 years. And if you can sustain those coaching staffs in each one of those communities, you're always going to have a team, because the kids are always going to come out. You're always going to have equipment. The money's not so much a barrier, it's people. I've always said that in my job, that the people is the biggest barrier, because you can't find passionate leaders. You can't find passionate coaches. They don't grow on trees. So if you do lose them, whether they go back home to Ontario, whether they retire, it's really hard to replace them, because football, in my opinion, is one of the toughest sports to catch on, to coach, because you need positional coaches. You're coaching a big team with contact and safety. So those are some of the success stories that I've seen throughout the years.
And I can hear your passion too, Ryan. You're also a program manager with the Northern Sport, Culture and Recreation District. So I guess what other programs do you run that you're proud of? Sounds like you're proud of this one for sure.
Yeah, I'm proud of this one. This one actually I don't run this through my work. This is all volunteer time for me. Because I'm a coach for my own football high school team. I've just seen the benefits and the passion. I played football down south when I was a kid, so I just know what the benefits of football. But as far as work goes, yeah, we have so many programs. So like we basically help communities with sport, culture, and recreation. So whether that's funding, Candace, so communities need help with sport, culture, and recreation funding, we're there to help them. Whether we do community development meetings where the rec director and the phys ed teacher and everyone comes together to plan sport, culture, and recreation for their community. We also are part of Team North for the Saskatchewan Games program that you might be aware of, that all the districts take part. And we have a summer games and a winter games for the province. We do Team North for that. We have the Northern Community and School Recreation Coordinator program in the North. No other district has this program. And what that program is we fund 22 schools for a coordinator to run after school and weekend programming. And it's a $59,000 grant that we give each of those 22 schools to hire a coordinator so they can run after school and weekend programming in their community for the kids, Candace, because in all honesty, in the North, yeah, we do have some communities like Creighton and La Ronge and maybe a few others that have clubs, have minor hockey, have minor baseball. But for the most part, all of the other communities in the north don't have that. So this coordinator is able to run programming in the gym or around the community for kids that wouldn't have anything to do. And that's part of the football gig. Having football gives them something else to do. There's just not so many things out there that these kids have to, because you need the people, you need the resources, and you need the facilities. And in the north, it's a little bit tricky. So we are proud of all of those programs. I could name about another 15 or 20, but those are the main ones. And it's very rewarding work, what I do for the district.
Ryan, it's been really great to hear about this. Thank you so much for your time and your work.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm Candace Lipsky. You're listening to Blue Sky here on CBC Radio 1. For many, many families, getting kids into sports is just not as simple as signing up. But there are organizations working to change all of this, and we are hearing from some on the show today. But we'd love to hear from you, too. How has being involved in sport impacted you? Is there a program that you might like to shout out? You can give us a call, 1-800-716-2221, or email bluesky@cbc.ca. Well, our next guest helps kids all over the province access sports. Tammy Hofford is the Kids Sport Provincial Coordinator, and she is in our Regina studio. Hi, Tammy.
Hi, Candace.
You were listening into my conversation there with Ryan. What stood out to you?
Just getting kids involved in sport, and we also have a similar partner as well. All of the things that the Saskatchewan Rough Rider Foundation does. And Brett Lawther is also one of our Kids Sport ambassadors. So that was one thing that stuck out, is how much the foundation is helping across the province, which is amazing.
And for listeners who aren't familiar with Kids Sport, Tammy, what does it do?
So Kids Sport is a children's charity, and we help to fund sport registration fees for kids from families facing financial obstacles. And we help kids across the province so that they can be involved in sport.
And how many families do you serve?
So in 2024, we helped over 5,000 kids at $1.4 million. So that's a huge amount of kids getting into sport across our province.
And you've been in this job for a while now. Have you seen a shift, Tammy, in who is using the program?
So we're seeing a lot of newcomer families who are using the program. And what we're seeing is soccer is really growing across the province. We hear stories of kids who played soccer in their home community where they first grew up, and then they moved over to Canada, and they could get to continue to play soccer. And it's amazing because it's a great way to get involved in the community. The families get to meet more people in the community as well. Recently, we had a family who's came from the Ukraine, and the child got into wrestling, and he actually learned how to speak English through being involved in wrestling, and just an amazing family.
Are there other sports that you've gotten requests for? I'm curious to hear what comes after soccer.
So after soccer, of course, there's hockey, gymnastics, basketball, and I believe volleyball are our top sports in 2024.
Yeah. How can people access the program?
So families can access the program by visiting our website. It's kidsportsask.ca, and they can just apply online. It's a very easy online application form, and they can just apply right there before the child's sports starts. And we'd love for people to apply because we want every kid to have the opportunity to play sports.
Who should be accessing the program, though? Is it people who are maybe considered low income?
The program is geared towards, we do have income guidelines that we do use for Kids Sport. And that's what our volunteers look at first when they are looking at applications.
And what is considered low income?
It's around $50,000. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but it goes by the number of children in the family. So as the number of children go up, the income guidelines would be a little bit higher.
And how much can one family access in a year? Is there like a cap?
So a family can access up to $750 per child per year. That's from January to December. And they could be helped with multiple sports in a year if it doesn't hit that maximum. So say a child wants to go into swimming lessons and play soccer, they could do both of those within the year if they're approved for funding.
Okay. Have you ever had to turn someone away, though, because money has run out, or it just you didn't have enough money to fund their sporting dreams?
So we've never had to turn away a child because of not having the funds. We do have a set of guidelines that our committees do follow, but we've never had to deny a child by not having the funding. We have some great sponsors and some great partners. And plus, all of our administration costs are covered through Sask Lotteries, through sort of like what the Northern Sport person was talking about. So we've never had to turn down an eligible child for funding by not having funding, just due to the amazing sponsors we have.
Tell me more about that. You don't need to name everyone, but where does the funding come from? Is it mostly lotteries?
So lotteries helps with all of our administration costs, so that 100% of the donations go directly to helping with the kids. That's the part that covers off our administration costs. And then our other sponsors include the Saskatchewan Rough Rider Foundation, SaskTel, Sask Energy, Canada Life, and HK Henderson, who are some of our major sponsors who help us out. And then what's really cool is we have Rosenau Transport on board with us. They help us with getting equipment to different locations in Saskatchewan. Such as if we wanted to get some equipment up north, they would help us to get that there, which is pretty cool.
What about donations? Is that something that you guys use as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We get in donations. It's an easy donation on our website. And we have some great donors who really do help to impact kids across the province.
We know that paying for the sport, paying the fee to enter a sport is not the only part of the barrier. Getting to practices and games, having to travel, those can be challenges as well. Is there a way that Sask Sport is addressing that?
So KidSport just helps with the sport registration fees and equipment as well when needed. Travel, it's not something that KidSport's helping with. We do have colleagues who work in some of our inner city schools who are dream broker consultants, amazing people. We think the world of them. And they do help with some of the transportation costs with kids within their schools to get to sports as well. So we work closely with them. They help to get kids in sport culture and recreation where we're very sport focused. But we have our dream broker consultants who do help with that a little bit.
Tammy, why does all of this matter? Why is sport so important?
Sport is so important because it's so much more than a game. Like you said before, it's the Sask Sport motto, and I think we all live by that in our office. Sport teaches kids teamwork. We all work in teams now. It teaches coping skills. Nobody likes to lose, but we do from time to time. Sport, it just means so much to kids. It's fun, and they build these great friendships. Everybody's going into school right now. And having those sports coming up in the fall where they're going to meet some new friends, it means so much. The impact of kids sport, the impact of sport in general, it's just amazing.
I feel like I need to ask if you yourself played any sports, or maybe you have kids who are playing sports, and how it impacted you.
So I grew up in a small community, Ogama, Saskatchewan. So of course I tried all the sports. Probably wasn't super great at many of them, but of course I got the chance to try all the sports. So definitely that was something where my friends were there. So I wanted to be there as well, and I learned a few skills in between there. But that was huge in my growing up, is sports really filled up a lot of the time that I was growing up. And then as my kids got into sports, we're a very hockey family, so we spent many, many hours in the rink. So
yeah, it's funny, even when I talk to people who didn't play sports growing up or dabbled and weren't good at it, I think that even teaches you lessons, hey?
Absolutely, 100%. I may not have been first picked on the team, but that's okay. You learn so many of those skills that, you do carry on forever. You don't think of it at the time, but as you get older and you kind of reflect on it, you're like, hey, sport really did have a big part of my growing up.
It's so true. I remember in track and field back in elementary school, I was always the backup, I guess, kind of like always in fifth. There were always people who were faster or better jumpers or whatever. And yeah, reflecting on it, that it taught me a lot of lessons, and I got to, chit chat with people on the sidelines more than the people who were competing. So it's interesting to think of those lessons. Tammy, stay with us right now. I want to bring a couple more people into the conversation. We're going to head to the province's two biggest cities to find out what they are doing to make sport and recreation opportunities more accessible. On the line right now is Darren Spiley. He is the Recreation Services Manager with the City of Saskatoon. Hey, Darren.
Hello.
And joining us in our Regina studio is Melissa Coder. She is the Manager of Sport Facilities and Special Events with the City of Regina. Welcome to Blue Sky, Melissa.
Hi, Candace.
You've both been listening in so far. What has stood out to you, Melissa?
The importance of sport. Actually, your first guest, Derek, and I are both from Wynyard. We're both from a small town. He's 6 years older than I am, so we didn't play sports together, but I watched him play football. And it's wonderful to see that those opportunities that we've had as children and to provide them for children for the next generation.
What about you, Darren? What have you been thinking about listening in?
Just seeing the opportunities to play and starting as a youth or a child. And as we see here in Saskatoon, just the whole continuum of starting as a child in the recreation side of things and then progressing right through to the seniors.
Yeah. Sport, of course, does have many a benefit, and we'd still love to hear from our listeners. Have you played a sport growing up? How did it impact you? Or maybe you're a family who has had to shell out thousands of dollars to be involved in hockey or other sports, and you'd love to see that change. We'd love to hear from you as well. You can give us a call, 1-800-716-2221, or email bluesky@cbc.ca. I want to learn a little bit more about what Regina and Saskatoon are doing to break down some of the barriers to sport and recreation opportunities. So, Melissa, what are some of the things going on in Regina?
The City of Regina has worked very hard over the last few years to ensure that as many residents as possible can play. And so we use our Affordable Fund program for low-income residents. And so through that, they get 80% off of any program. They get 50% off of any admission to one of our many rec facilities, or 80% off of a leisure pass. And so with that, a $50 swimming lesson is now a $10 swimming lesson. And so at that price point, so many more children can take part in building those important, recreation skills, but also those important community skills like playing with others.
And who can access that program, Melissa?
The Affordable Fund program is available for Regina residents who qualify as low income by Stats Canada. So it varies depending on the number of individuals in a household. So, a one-person household is around $25,000, but a seven-person household is up to $72,000. And so for interested residents, please visit regina.ca/affordablefund or call the play line 777-PLAY, and one of our wonderful recreation play line agents will be able to connect you with our program.
Darren, what about in Saskatoon? Are there similar programs to this Affordable Fund program?
Yeah, we do have a similar program called our Leisure Access Program. That program also offers eligible low-income residents of any age living in Saskatoon an unlimited admission to our drop-in programs, access to our leisure centers, outdoor pools, indoor rinks, and free ride tickets at Nutrient Playland at Kinsman Park here in Saskatoon.
How well used are those leisure passes, Darren?
They're very well utilized.
Yeah, do you have a sense of how many people a year might be using them?
I don't have the stats, but I do know that applications and intake is on an ongoing basis throughout the year. And we do have a lot of local residents that do take advantage of the program.
Yeah. Melissa, what about the Affordable Fund program? What's your sense of how well used it's being?
In 2024, we had about 2,500 residents take advantage of our program, which is about 1% of our population. So we're really glad that so many people are being able to access our facilities and programs.
What are some of the most popular sports that are available in Regina, Melissa?
I mean, it's always swimming lessons. We offer many swimming lessons, and residents line up to register. And I just want to let residents know who are still, thinking, oh, I missed the registration date. We actually still have available spots in swimming. So please go to regina.ca/leisure guide and check out we have programs for age, 0 to 100. And we really hope that you take, whether it's chair yoga, whether it's swimming lessons, learn to play basketball. We have wonderful adapted programs. We have adapted basketball. We would love to have residents look us up and come on by and recreate with us.
There might still be some people who are excited to hear that. We do have a caller on the line right now. We'll go to Pam, who is in Radisson. Hi there, Pam.
Hi there.
What are you thinking about listening to the show today?
Well, I'm just thinking about how fortunate my children have been growing up in a rural school setting and having people who are willing to coach them.
Yeah,
and
what kind of an impact?
The gentleman was saying, well, a huge impact, because if you don't have a coach, you don't have a team. And if you don't have a coach that's got a vested interest in what he's doing, it doesn't end up being much of an experience for kids. And I am not a coach person. I am a fan person, and I'm a parent. And I have no end to the respect that I have for people who choose to coach my children.
What sports are your kids playing?
Well, my children have all graduated from school, but I remember 20 years ago trying to convince our son that he should really go in grade 6 to go and play some volleyball, even though he'd never played such a thing. And I remember taking him kicking and screaming to a practice, and he plays 20 years later. He's still playing volleyball at every opportunity that he has. So, I mean, it is a lifelong skill that children learn. And I have nothing but respect for people who teach it.
Do I hear a little emotion in your voice there, Pam?
You sure do.
Why? What's bringing that up?
This is silly. Just simply the opportunity for children to do things. So, small town Saskatchewan, small teams, 6 kids on a team, pull them together, make something. Great opportunities for kids to travel places, make friends, develop relationships, learn life skills. You can't teach that in the classroom.
Yeah, I hear you, Pam. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. It means a lot. Thank you.
Accolades to all those people.
Yes,
thank you.
Huge shout out to all those coaches out there that are making such a big difference in kids' life. If you want to tell us about how sport has impacted you or your kids like Pam did, you can get in touch by calling 1-800-716-2221 or email bluesky@cbc.ca. Melissa, that was so nice to hear the emotion that Pam felt about, this impact that sport has had on her kids. Is this something that you think about often, or that you get to see firsthand, the impact that some of these programs that the city offers has on people?
Yes. Every time in the summer when you go to our pools, we have 2 free inner city pools. We have Buffalo Meadows and Maple Leaf. These are children who may not otherwise get the opportunity to learn to swim. And swimming, not only is it a life skill, a safety skill around water, your outcomes as an adult are so much higher if you learn how to swim. You do better, and people who know how to swim tend to do better in the workplace. So it's so important that people have affordable access to recreation facilities and programs.
And I understand that there are also some adapted programs. You mentioned them earlier on. Can you tell us a little bit about what Regina is offering and why it's a priority for the city?
Yeah, so the city, just for the fall alone, is offering, almost 100 adapted programs. And we, adapted floor hockey, adapted parent and taught sports jam. We have an acquired brain injury art group. Many of these programs are offered in partnership with SHA or other partners. And it's so important for all members of our community, those who experience a disability. It's such a lifeline for them. I don't think there's anything, more heartwarming than seeing our free dance program that we offer at the Mamaweatin Center. And our adapted dance class, or our, it's so wonderful to see everyone dancing together.
I had no idea that there were so many options. Darren, are there similar options in Saskatoon?
Yeah, there is not. The city of Saskatoon is further investigating and researching our adaptive programming complement. So we don't have the same level of programming that Regina does. A lot of community organizations run programming like that. But to Melissa's point, just about the importance of the play piece, with the summer wrapping up here as well, offering free programming at our spray pads and paddling pools and that sort of thing. There's 74 locations throughout the city of Saskatoon, along with our outdoor pools as well. So again, the importance of the water and getting kids in the water and swimming lessons and them learning about that sort of stuff has been really beneficial for us as well.
Darren,
we always learn from our colleagues at the City of Regina as well.
Yeah, it sounds like we all have lots to learn from each other. How well used are the city's recreational facilities, Darren?
The City of Saskatoon operates 5 leisure centers, 3 aquatic and 2 dryland. So we do offer a great complement of aquatic programs like swimming lessons and public swims and drop-in programs, as well as fitness classes, walking tracks, weight room facilities. So the full complement of facilities, as well as competitive facilities like the Shaw Center and the Saskatoon Fieldhouse. So you see the continuum of someone who starts out in swimming lessons and ends up going into the swim club and becoming a competitive swimmer. And we've had a few Olympians and Paralympians come through. So the leisure centers are really lifelong. We want to create lifelong opportunities for everybody, and so that they can, from the time they get into the pool for the first time to lane swimming as an adult, it's really important that they become lifelong members of our facilities.
I'm glad you brought up those kind of lifelong traditions. We've been talking about kids mostly on the show, but Melissa, do you want to tell us a little bit about what kind of programs and recreational opportunities you have for older adults?
At the City of Regina, we offer yoga, boomers and beyond, yoga chairs, Zumba Gold, and all of our fitness programs, regardless of whether they are in the older adult, section of the leisure guide, are easily adapted by our fitness instructors. We have a wonderful group of older adults who work out every day in the winter at the field house, who attend our aquasize programs, and I'm sure it's the same in Saskatoon. If you're, feeling a little apprehensive about joining a gym, maybe you've retired and you're looking to get active and make those important social connections as well, like I couldn't recommend the field house at the Lawson, Northwest, or Schmerler more in Regina, and I'm sure Saskatoon has the same at their facilities.
Yeah, Darren, what do you want to tell us what Saskatoon is offering for older adults?
Yeah, Aquafit has a very loyal following here in Saskatoon as well with our older adults. We also offer programs called Fit Over 50. So opportunity for those individuals who may be a little bit apprehensive about going to a weight room and doing some strength training for the first time, getting them some time with a personal trainer so they can learn about using that equipment. And it does become a social atmosphere they continue to come that way. We also provide a lot of partnership with the Saskatchewan Health Authority and running programs over at the Fieldhouse and Shaw Center for individuals with chronic conditions. So those programs, they also create the exercise component, but it is a really huge social component that keeps people coming out and keeping them active.
You're listening to Blue Sky here on CBC Radio 1. There are still a few minutes left to tell us a little bit about how sport has impacted your life. Maybe it changed your world as a kid. Maybe it changed your world as an adult. Maybe you had to overcome some serious challenges to accessing sport, be it to the expense or having to travel. We'd still love to hear from you. You can call us 1-800-716-2221 or email bluesky@cbc.ca. Melissa, what do you hear from people who take part in these programs?
We hear, when our participants are young children, we hear from their parents about, what a wonderful experience it was, how much stronger their child is at swimming, or, that they're learning badminton or a new sport. The city actually prices our youth programs below cost recovery. So these are very affordable programs. These are, costing you $6, $7, $8 a lesson, and there might be, 8 lessons in a program. And so it's a really affordable way to introduce your kids to a sport before maybe you make that larger commitment to, club volleyball or, similar club sports.
And Darren, I am wondering, how do you decide what to offer? How do you kind of manage when something is really popular and everyone wants to get into it? How do you make those decisions?
We do try to balance the activities that happen in the leisure centers. For the most part, we have way more demand than we have capacity for with a lot of programs. So there is a lot of popular programs like aquafit, like lane swimming. Some of those programs get some time, but we're also, our facilities also accommodate community organizations with rentals and things like that. So we're trying to create a balance between the public demand for programs and also providing community groups and associations an opportunity to rent our facilities so that they can offer their programs as well. So it's a bit of a balancing act, but our team does try to do its best so that we can offer something to everybody.
And what do you hear, Darren, from people who take part in these programs about how important they are?
I think just the opportunity that the city has these types of facilities that they can come and participate, I think is one of the most important things. Like I said, we have more demand than capacity. So, in terms of something like swimming lessons, it's good to hear that people want to come out and utilize the facilities that you have.
Tammy Hofford with Kidsport is still with us right now, and I just want to put one last question to you, Tammy. Listening to this whole show today, why should people get involved in sport, and how easy is it to access some of your services? Like where can people go to learn more if they're having trouble with some of these barriers?
Yeah, so everyone should get involved in sport because sport is more than a game. And to access Kidsport funding, just visit our website, kidsportsask.ca, and it's a very simple online application process, and all the details are right there on our website. So we hope to see everyone out.
It has really been a pleasure chatting with all of you about the importance of sport today. It really does change people's lives. So Tammy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Darren, thank you.
Thank you.
And Melissa, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Tammy Hoffert is the Kidsport Provincial Coordinator, who we just heard from a moment ago. We also heard from Melissa Coder. She is the Manager of Sport Facilities and Special Events with the City of Regina. And we also were speaking there with Darren Spile. He is the Recreation Services Manager with the City of Saskatoon. Thanks so much for tuning in. That is all the time that we have today on the show.